Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Weed, and today we're going to be talking about Lost Treasure. Lost Treasure is a game manufactured by Parker Brothers in 1982. It seats anywhere from 2 to 4 players, runs for about an hour of game time, and is rated for ages 8 and up. But let's dig into it a little further, shall we? Lost Treasure is an electronic deep-sea diving game released by Parker Brothers in 1982. In this game, you and your opponents are deep-sea divers in search of sunken treasure. The treasure is scattered throughout the ocean floor. Your challenge is to locate and dive for it by using the electronic dive control center. If you successfully bring treasure to the surface, you must sail to port and cash it in, then you'll have to go out for more. The first dive team to earn $1 million wins the game. The game has been released in multiple countries, including the United States as well as Canada. This game does come with multiple pieces. It comes with a game board, 1 electronic dive control center, 4 boats in yellow, white, green, and red, 16 treasure chests, 4 gold buoys, 4 silver buoys, 2 dice, and a stack of money. On a final note, the dive control center does require a 9-volt battery to play this game. Take a few minutes to look at the board and the electronic dive control center before you begin to play. As you can see, the board is an ocean chart of an island chain. The entire chart is divided by a large red grid into 64 numbered sections. Each numbered section is a possible treasure location. Within each treasure location is a small black grid with 9 squares. Each square is a separate diving area. Pictured here, for example, is dive location number 77. It has 9 diving areas, any of which may contain a treasure, even if the diving area contains land or a port. Located on the chart are 8 ports. Each port has a name and is indicated by the red circle. One of the ports will be your starting space. Later in the game, you may go to a port to cash in treasure or to get money from the bank. The Electronic Dive Control Center is a remarkable device that helps you pinpoint a treasure location on the map, simulate your dive, control your air supply, displays a treasure value, and hides new treasure as each one is found. It is very easy to operate, as you will see when you get behind the controls. Please note, whenever you use the Dive Control Center during the game, be sure to keep it laying flat and within view of all players. That's because any information entered into and supplied by the Dive Control Center must always be shared. Starting with the compass on the left side and the gold and silver buttons in the center, this is the direction indicator and the keys that operate it. The direction indicator tells you in which direction a treasure lies in relation to your location on the map. Press either one of the gold keys to search for a gold treasure. Press either one of the silver keys when searching for a silver treasure. Next, the 4 buttons on the right side of the screen, you use these buttons to begin and end your dive, repeat the treasure value display, and clear any mistakes that you have. Next, the grid of 1 through 9. These are the location numbers and diving keys. You'll use them when you need to enter your location number into the Dive Control Center. The 9 key also represents the 9 diving areas within a treasure location. You'll press one of them at a time during a dive in order to find out which diving area contains a treasure. Finally, on the left side of the screen, these are the lights that show how much air is in your diving tanks during a dive for treasure. The same lights show the treasure value at the end of a successful dive. The buoys have a very important function. Every time a player receives a direction from the direction indicator, either the gold or silver buoys are moved on the map. In this way, they are used as map markers for treasure locations. Eventually, the gold buoys will surround an exact gold location, and the silver buoys will surround an exact silver location. But it may take several turns before exact treasure locations are found. Anytime you successfully bring treasure to the surface, you'll receive treasure chests from the bank. The number of treasure chests you receive will depend on the value shown on the dollar gauge. Each treasure chest is worth $50,000. To set up this game, each player chooses a boat and places it in an unoccupied port. Place one gold buoy and one silver buoy onto the map frame at each corner as shown here. Choose a player to be the banker. The banker separates the money by denomination into different piles to form the bank, and then hands each player one $100,000 bill and one $50,000 bill, and then finally sets aside the brown-colored treasure chest for the time being. During the game, the banker will hand out money and treasure chests to the players who have earned them. Each player then rolls a die. Whoever rolls the highest goes first, and then proceeds in turn clockwise. On the electronic dive control center, it will automatically hide one gold treasure and one silver treasure into two different locations on the map. Only the dive control center knows which locations were chosen. When you hear a short beep, it is to remind you that the dive control center is on. A couple of special notes about the Dive Control Center. If you should happen to turn the Dive Control Center off during a game, two new treasures will automatically be hidden. In this case, you would move all the buoys back to the four corners of the board and start a new search. Be sure to only press one key at a time. Should you press the wrong key, press clear immediately to start again. On your turn, you may do any or all of the following steps. It's up to you, but you must do them in this order. First, search for treasure. Start your turn by searching for either a gold or silver treasure location. It doesn't matter which one you choose, since one is not necessarily more valuable than the other. To search, take the Dive Control Center and operate the direction indicator. It will tell you in which direction a treasure lies in relation to your location on the map. Based on the direction you receive from the direction indicator, move either the gold buoys for a gold treasure or the silver buoys for a silver treasure. Move the buoys in order to mark off the area where the Dive Control Center has indicated that there is a treasure. Second, roll the dice and move your boat. The object is to move your boat towards the area marked off by the buoys, or if you can, directly onto a numbered section that has a treasure so you can dive. In other turns, you may want to move your boat in order to either enter a port or pirate an opponent, which I will be going over in a moment. And finally, third, dive for a treasure. If you think there's a treasure in a numbered section where you've landed, pay the bank $50,000 for diving rights. Then take the Dive Control Center and operate your dive. If you don't think there's a treasure where you've landed, end your turn. Once you have completed the steps you wish to take, end your turn. Play passes to the person to your left. To search for treasure and move the buoys, simply use the electronic dive control center. Press in the number of the section your boat currently occupies. Decide which treasure you want to search for, either gold or silver, because on any turn you are free to ask for either one. Then decide whether you want to know if the treasure is north or south, or east or west of your location. Simply press the appropriate direction key on the dive control center. The light will circle the direction indicator and then stop at either north, south, east, or west, or the center. Based on the direction you receive, move the buoys appropriately. Let's say, for example, that on your turn your boat occupies the port called Atlantis, which is in section 77. Simply just press 77 on the keypad. Then decide to ask if the gold treasure is east or west of 77. Simply press the gold east-west key. Let's say the direction indicator lights up to the west. This means the treasure lies west of 77. So move the two gold buoys to just west of 77 as shown. Now you know the gold lies somewhere in the shaded area. The entire shaded area is west of 77. Using the same example, let's say it had lit up to the east instead of west. In this case, the treasure lies east of 77. So move the two gold buoys to just east of 77 as shown here. The gold treasure lies somewhere in the shaded area. The entire shaded area is east of 77. Again, using the same example, if the center light had lit up on the direction indicator, it would tell you the treasure is neither east or west of 77, but lies in the row of numbered sections. In this case, move the four buoys as shown. The gold treasure lies somewhere in the shaded area. The entire shaded area is central to 77. Let's take the last example when the center light had lit up, and let's say that the next player's turn, their boat occupies number 47. They decide to ask for the gold too. They ask, is the gold treasure north or south of 47, and then presses the 47 and the gold north-south key. Let's say the direction indicator lights up at the south. This tells you the treasure lies somewhere south of 47, so move the two gold buoys just south of 47. The gold lies somewhere in the shaded area as shown. As you can see from the examples, each time a question is asked about a treasure location, the buoys are moved. So as players take turns along the same treasure, whether it's gold or silver, the locations are narrowed down until eventually the exact location is found. This diagram here shows that 67 is the exact gold treasure location. To move your boat, just simply roll the dice. You move your boat any number of the spaces up to the number that you rolled. For example, if you rolled a 7, you may move as many as 7 spaces or as few as 0. A boat moves in the water from square to square on the small black grid with each numbered section. A boat moves in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, and may in turn change directions as often as it wishes. A boat may not land on or move through a space where there is land, and a boat may not land on or move through a space occupied by another boat. Once your boat has landed on any square within a numbered treasure location, you may, if you wish, dive at that location. Pay $50,000 for diving rights. The exception to this is if on a previous turn you bought diving rights for the same treasure location and haven't moved away from it, you do not need to pay again when you redive. On the electronic dive control center, press the numbers of the location your boat occupies, then press air. If you hear 2 low notes, the treasure is not there and end your turn. But if the treasure is in that location, you'll hear the sound of your diving tanks filling up with air and see the lights on the air gauge light up one at a time. As soon as your tanks are full, you're ready to dive, and you may begin at any time. The 9 squares on the Dive Control Center represent the 9 diving areas within the treasure location. Treasures can be found in one or more of them and at different depths. That's because the ocean floor is uneven. It is up to you to explore them and find out which ones actually contain treasure. Since you won't have enough air to dive in all 9 on a turn and still return to the surface, dive in as many as you can in any order. To dive, with one finger, press and hold one of the 9 number keys. Listen to the descent sound. It sounds like you're going down, down, down. Keep that number key pressed down until you hear either a treasure sound or the no treasure sound. The treasure sound sounds like a run of high notes, which tells you you've picked up a treasure in the diving area. The no treasure sound, one low note, tells you there is no treasure in the diving area. Either sound tells you that you've reached the bottom. If you press another key without reaching bottom first, you'll hear the bad key sound. So make sure you reach the bottom with every number you press. Now quickly press and hold another numbered key. If you hear another descent sound, the diving area you've entered is even deeper than the last. If you hear the ascent sound, sounding like you're coming up and up and up, the diving area is closer to the surface. Please note that knowing the depths of your dive will help you gauge how much air it will take to end your dive and reach the surface. In this way, quickly move from one number to another to find the diving area that contains treasure. But keep your eye on your air supply. If you picked up a treasure, make sure you have enough air left to reach the surface. To end your dive, hold down the up key until you either run out of air or reach the surface. The up key is the means by which you bring to the surface any treasures you've picked up during your dive. From the moment you press the first numbered key until you reach the surface, you're using up air. The air light gauge will go out one at a time until the supply is finally used up. The penalty for running out of air is any treasure you've picked up during your dive will be dropped into the last numbered diving area you pressed. You will hear it drop, and this will signal the end of your turn. If you reach the surface with treasure, you will hear 2 bells and the treasure sound and see the treasure's light value on the dollar gauge light up. The value can range anywhere on the gauge between 100,000 and 350,000. If you need to see the treasure value again, just press the dollar value key. The bank will then give you treasure value in treasure chests. Each treasure chest is worth $50,000. Let's say the dollar gauge raises to 200,000. In this case, the bank would give you 4 treasure chests. Any player on his or her turn may dive for any treasure that's still left in a treasure location, provided the player lands in the location first. As soon as someone brings up the last of the treasure and the entire treasure location is empty, you will hear a shrill sounding alarm. It will occur after the treasure sound at the end of the player's dive. When you hear this sound, move the 4 buoys marking the location back to the 4 corners of the board. The Dive Control Center will automatically hide another treasure, and players can start asking about its location. Let's get back to your turn. You've just had a successful dive and you collected your treasure chests. Now, in order to cash them in, you will need to sail to a port. As soon as you've brought treasure to the surface, you may immediately roll the die and move your boat in order to reach an unoccupied port. As soon as you land on a port, the bank will give you an amount of money equal to the value of your treasure chest, and then your turn ends. But until you reach the port, your treasure chest could be pirated away from you. If a player on their next turn lands on a space next to yours, that player can pirate you for any number of treasure chests you have. Money cannot be pirated. But the pirate takes the risk if they have any treasure chests of their own, they could lose theirs to you. Here's what happens. Each player rolls one die. Whoever rolls the highest number wins all the treasure chests the loser has. If the loser has none, there is no penalty. In case of a tie, the player who was pirated wins all the treasure chests from the pirate. The winner gets to immediately roll the dice again in order to move away from the loser. If at any time you run out of money, remember that you need money to buy diving rights, go to any unoccupied port and the bank will give you another $150,000. You may do so only on your turn when you roll the dice to move. The first player to earn $1 million in cash wins the game. For a shorter game, decide before you start that the winner will be the first to earn $500,000. Well, this has been an overview of Lost Treasure. Lost Treasure, I think, is a very interestingly built game. The thing about this game, though, is if you don't have the diving control center, the game is unplayable. So you need to make sure that you have the diving control center and a working version of it, because it's 80s electronics and I think it breaks down relatively easily. So I would say that would be the major downfall of this game. But if you have the diving control center and it does work, I say this is a very good game to play. The game itself is very easy to pick up, very easy to play, very easy to learn. It's very kid-friendly. If you want an interesting game night with family and friends, yeah, I'd say Lost Treasure is a good option for you. As for a family game night, again, perfectly good option. It's a game that doesn't get brought up very much. I think the diving control center can get a little confusing, especially for younger people. But if you have someone that's gone through this game a couple of times, I think you'll have a very good time with it. The map itself is a very nice looking map. It's got Channel Islands on it, it's got some decent detail to it, and I think it does its part very well of bringing you into the theming on it. It has that nice nautical buoys to it, the little ships, so I think for what the game is component-wise, I think it's a very, very good game. The game itself goes online anywhere from about $20 to $40. It's not relatively hard to find, but if you do want to find a copy of this game, like I said, you got to make sure that the diving control unit works. Otherwise, the game is completely unplayable, because the diving control unit tells you where the treasures are. It decides where everything goes. So you need to make sure you have this in a working condition. Like I said, the game is very easy to play. It's very easy to learn. It's not overly complicated. One or two times through, I think you'll get a nice, you'll pick it up nicely. So if you haven't played Lost Treasure before, I would recommend taking a look at this game. Like I said, it looks really nice. It has a nice nautical theme to it, and I think it does a good job for what it is, especially for being an 80s game. So if you haven't played Lost Treasure before, I would recommend playing this game. Well, that's it from us here at the Gamer's Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on Lost Treasure from Parker Brothers. If there's a game in the future you'd like us to review or go over, please put it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so that way you can be the first to check out our future content. And as always, please, have a great gaming day.